Hi, my name is Taylor Schultz, and today I will be discussing depression. I will be covering the physiology behind depression, the chemical imbalances in the brain associated with it, the neurotransmitters involved, possible causes, medications, and its relationship to exercise. I will even be presenting a case study with depression regarding a patient who came to me for an exercise prescription. So, what is depression? Depression is an emotional display of ego helplessness and ego powerlessness in relationship to one's narcissistic aspirations. In other words, those with depression set really high expectations for themselves and external factors in their environment and feel as though they won't be able to have a life that fulfills these expectations. Therefore, they tend to cling on to feelings of ego helplessness and ego powerlessness as a result of narcissistic frustration. If these aspirations are fulfilled, however, then the result will be elation. Causes. So depression causes, as you can see, can be genetics, brain chemistry imbalance, poor nutrition, physical health issues, drugs, and stress. You are more likely to be diagnosed with depression if others in your family have been diagnosed with depression or have any other types of mood disorders. You will also have higher odds of being diagnosed if you have a chronic illness, a sleep disorder, or thyroid conditions. Rates are higher among people who have chronic pain, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and cancer. Having a history of substance abuse can also increase your risk of being diagnosed with depression. Women suffer from major depression almost twice as often as men, especially during times where their hormones are in flux. This is when they are going through their menstrual period, childbirth, and premenopause. Along with that, women's risk of developing depression also declines after she's going through menopause. Areas of the brain affected by depression. As you can see in the picture, it points out where the amygdala, the thalamus, and the hippocampus lie in the brain. So the amygdala is associated with emotions such as anger, pleasure, sorrow, fear, and sexual arousal. This part of the brain is activated when recalling emotional memories that can sometimes be disheartening. The activity in this area of the brain is a lot higher when someone is sad or depressed. The thalamus is responsible for receiving sensory information and directs speech, behavioral reactions, movement, thinking, and learning. This can link sensory input to unpleasant feelings, however. And the hippocampus, on the other hand, plays a central role in processing long-term memory and recollection. So this part of the brain registers fear from certain memories, which can affect one's habits as they go about their daily lives. For example, if one time someone was trapped in an elevator, they might not want to take an elevator for the rest of their life, which would lead to them taking the stairs more often. In relation to exercise, if someone were to fall off a treadmill at the gym, they could avoid running on a treadmill for the rest of their life or just avoid going to the gym altogether. I actually have a roommate who has experienced this firsthand. The hippocampus is smaller in depressed individuals due to an ongoing exposure to stress hormone that impairs the growth of nerve cells in this part of the brain. Continued. So, neurotransmitters involved with depression. First, we have acetylcholine. There are higher levels of this in those who have been diagnosed with depression. And this is in charge of enhancing memory and is associated with learning and recall. Serotonin is responsible for regulating sleep, appetite, mood, and it also inhibits pain. Research shows that people with depression actually have a lot lower levels of serotonin, which could also be linked to a higher risk of suicide. Norepinephrine constricts blood vessels and raises blood pressure. This may trigger anxiety and be involved with some types of depression, and those who have depression tend to have lower levels of norepinephrine. Dopamine is essential to movement and plays a role in motivation and perception of reality, which could be easily seen with why those with depression have lower levels of this neurotransmitter. So glutamate, on the other hand, is usually at higher levels with those who have depression. It acts as an excitatory neurotransmitter, which heightens feelings of joy and sadness. So those with bipolar disorder usually have very high levels of glutamate. Lithium carbonate is known to reduce these levels, and it also prevents damage to neurons in the brain because of this. GABA is an amino acid that acts as an inhibitory neurotransmitter, which is used to help with anxiety. As you can see, having too much or too little of these neurotransmitters could cause or at least contribute to depression. Epidemiology. So first we have selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are also known as SSRIs. These are the most commonly prescribed, and they raise serotonin levels and tend to have the fewest amount of side effects. Next we have serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. These are the secondly most prescribed and also have very few side effects. And then we have norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitors. These also have fewer side effects compared to other antidepressants and is sometimes used to treat anxiety. Then we have the tricycle antidepressants, which are known for causing more serious side effects than other antidepressants, and therefore is prescribed less unless if the other medications are not working. And lastly, we have the monoamine oxidase inhibitors. These are known to cause serious side effects, and they are rarely prescribed unless if no other medications are working. And if one were to take these medications, then they would probably have to change their diet and change what other medications they are taking. Prevalence of depression. So this in the graph is information collected from the year of 2017. As you can see, a total of 7.1% of US adults have had at least one major depressive episode. The prevalence of this was also higher among adult females compared to males for reasons that I've mentioned before. The prevalence of adults with major depressive episodes were the highest among ages 18 to 25, and they were also very high for adults reporting 2 or more races. So for my case study. I had Amelia, who is a 27-year-old female who has been diagnosed with depression for 5 years now. She's been taking Zoloft, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, since she was first diagnosed. Her resting heart rate is 73 beats per minute, and her resting blood pressure is 130 over 80 millimeters of mercury. She has a family history of substance abuse, and she herself drank 6 units of alcohol per day from ages 18 to 23 years old. She has not been active since high school when she ran cross country and wants an exercise prescription to help improve her mood and physical health. For her max exercise test, her results showed no abnormal electrocardiogram changes, a maximum blood pressure of 170 over 84 millimeters of mercury, a maximum heart rate of 167 beats per minute, and a VO2 max of 27.5. So First, I would discuss her risks with her and make sure she was fully aware of them. I would make sure she had consulted a doctor before coming to me because she was showing signs of hypertension. I would ask her more about her habits with alcohol use, and the exercise test I would do for her would be the 3-minute YMCA step test to determine her cardiovascular fitness, the static hand grip fitness test to measure her muscular strength. So, those two. So, for my exercise prescription, I've noted how she's been taking Zoloft, which would explain why she has hypertension, because that drug is known for raising blood pressure. And I noted that she has depression and has past substance abuse history. So I tailored this prescription more so around her hypertension. So for her aerobic exercise, the frequency, I would start with 3 days per week and then progress to 6 as fitness improves. For resistance training, I would start with 2 non-consecutive days per week, then progress to 3 as fitness improves. For flexibility, I would start with 2 days per week, then progress to 3 as flexibility improves. Intensity. So for aerobic, I would start with the 40% VO2 max and then progress to 70% as fitness improves. And for resistance, I would start with 50% VO2 max and then progress to 70%. And flexibility, I would have her stretch to the point of tightness or slight discomfort. The time. So for aerobic, I would start with 150 minutes per week. Aerobic exercise is very important for those with depression. For resistance, I would start with 8 exercise, 2 sets of 10 reps each, then progress to 10 exercise, 3 sets of 8 reps each. For flexibility, I would start with 2 reps held for 10 seconds, and then I would progress to 4 reps held for 30 seconds. For type, I wanted to do more fun exercises because since she has depression, she will need a little bit more motivation to do so. So for aerobic, I would have her do walking with a friend or swimming or even Zumba. For resistance, I would have her do free weights and compound exercises. And for flexibility, I would have her do static and dynamic stretching. Maybe even yoga, because that's very good for the mind too, adding a little bit of meditation. So, like I said, modifications for depression would just be to have fun, engaging activities and add a little extra motivation. And here are my citations. Thank you for watching.